Hi Matt, thank you for joining me on From the Stage Door.
Hello, Rachel from Stage Door.
I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions, first of all, for anybody that's not familiar with your career.
Why aren't they familiar with my career?
Well, they will be after this, won't they? So the first question is, have you always had a passion for theatre and performing?
The answer is yes and no, really. Yes, because I've from a very, very early age, I always wanted to perform. I didn't really know what, but I knew I was a performer from the early ages of when I was a toddler. I was always performing. I used to do impressions at school, and my first memory of what I wanted to do when you in assembly, when I grow up, I want to be a clown. That's what I wanted to be, a clown. So I suppose, in a way, that's come true. I am a clown of sorts, panto comic. I was a full-on comedian before, but I just moved, and I only do it in panto now. But obviously the acting as well, the straight acting. Comes alongside it. So yeah, I have. It's always been there, and it's just sort of grown a natural progression. My career has sort of moved from being a blue coat at Pontins, where I cut my teeth and learnt my trade, into moving on to I did talent shows and was lucky enough to win. And then I went out on the circuit and went and grafted, all the holiday parks and things like that. And then it just got, you get a bit of attention, you get known, and one thing led to another, and here I am.
And we're glad you are. Who was the greatest influence on you growing up?
Over the years, I've had many influences. As a comedian, growing up as a kid, I used to love watching Normal Wisdom, people like Danny Kaye. Who else did I used to watch? Jerry Lewis was massive back then. So all those kind of old names. Who else? Normal Wisdom. I used to love his films. So it was all very Eric. What's his name? Harold Lloyd and people like that. Buster Keaton. I was very, very intrigued with physical comedy and people that made me laugh visually, not stand-up comics. Even to the likes of who I've been lucky enough to be compared with. I've been compared with many people. The likes of like Tommy Cooper. I mean, to be mentioned in the same name as him is breathtaking, and I really, am humbled by that. But I never even used to look at Tommy Cooper, and he never made me laugh as a kid. He does as an adult, but as a kid, he wasn't really like my influence. It was just those visual comics, the physicality. I think that sort of planted a seed very early on with my career. And then later on down the line, as I sort of got into the industry and as I was just sort of getting, turning my early 20s, when I first got into it and discovered that I had an ability to make people laugh, and you find your confidence and so to speak. I used to make everyone laugh in the pub. And I used to watch Michael Barrymore was a massive influence, and I know there's a lot of controversy about surrounding him, what with the incident. But I don't want to get into that. I've met Michael. He came to see me when we were doing Peter Pan, and for him to make comments of my performance and how he loved it and blah blah blah. And I went on the Piers Morgan show on his live interview. And for him to watch him growing up at that age was a massive influence. He was just genius. He was amazing. Whether you call it talent or whatever he had was something very, very special and something unique, which I really did mold myself on. I had a real connection with him, and so to meet him was a real special moment. I mean, I've met Bruce Forsyth back in the day. Spent time on stage with Bruce, and Bruce was the same. So, and also Brian Conley, and I've met all these guys now. I've met them, and they were my peers. And Brian likes my work, So I was very heavily influenced by these people at a very young age. And in effect, what you do is you latch onto someone and you have a style, you copy, you mimic. And I'm a mimic. I'm an impressionist as well as a comedian, So I used to very much sort of base my early days on those kind of people. And why not? Because they were the best at the time. And then you discover your own style and you become an amalgamation, is that the right word? Or a combination of all of these different people. And I feel that I've got a bit of all of them in me, but a little bit extra to give. So which is I'm very fortunate. But they were massive influences. Barrymore, Connolly, Bruce, well, you know. God, please, up there now. No, higher. Yeah, they were my influences.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Probably now. I've had lots of advice over the years. One piece of advice I remember being given by an old variety cabaret act, Don D. Williams, who actually Michael Barrymore used to watch him in same respect as I used to watch Barrymore, and he did sort of steal a few ideas of throwing people out. And Don D. Williams was renowned for it. He started that kind of thing of that anarchy. And I had a chat with him at the bar once at Pontins in Brixham when I was a blue coat, and he said to me, stay hungry. Whatever you do, stay hungry. And I think that stuck with me for many, many years. I have been hungry. I never stop looking for what's next. As an actor, I want to do this. I want to do that. I've ticked a lot of boxes. I've certainly ticked the panto box. And I know I can do that, but you still got to keep going. And, a lot of people say, oh, why haven't you this? And why haven't you done this? And why aren't you on Saturday night TV? And it's like, I don't know. No idea. But it's not to say that I haven't made it. It depends what you class as making it. I think having a little bit of celebrity in a small bubble is better. I can walk down the street in London. No one knows who I am. I earn a very good living. And I have a big fan base who love what I do. What more would you want? So that was a great bit of advice. A great bit of advice. The other bit of advice I had as well was never read reviews. And that's a real. I was flicking through as you do. We're about to start rehearsing on Thursday, getting back on stage, getting back, and we're all human, and we all, we take knocks, and your confidence does get knocked, and confidence is key, especially with what I do. You've got to stand there and command a stage, and let the audience know that you're in control and they're safe. And if that goes, if you wobble, it affects you. So reading a review of, that can say, oh, well, he went on a bit too long, or we've had enough of him, which is like out of a whole bucket of sand, you've got a couple of grains of negativity. And if you read them, it can really affect you. So the best bit of advice, Leslie Joseph said that, I never read my reviews. So you've got to take the good ones, and I've had some exceptional reviews, fantastic, incredible reviews, to be compared with, like I said before, Tommy Cooper, Eric Morecambe. Matt Slack is the best panto comic of his generation or of all time. It's incredible. It's not me saying that. It's just I just get on and do it, but I don't want to read anything negative, because it's just, it's one person's opinion from the Times or the Guardian. Who gives a toss? Do you know what I mean? Just, I'll go away. Everyone's a critic now. Everyone can say what they think. And the people I care about are the people that pay tickets and come and see me and support me. Those who don't like it, whatever. See ya. Go next door.
How do you deal with nerves when you're performing?
Alcohol and drugs, normally. No, I do have a drink afterwards, and I've cut down on it now. During lockdown, it got, what do? You open a bottle of wine and you start drinking, but you say, oh, that's a slippery old path. And I used to have a little port and brandy before I went on, and I got to the stage where I got a bit dependent on it. This is way back. This is going back 20 years, and there came a point where I went, no, I'm going to stop, because you've got to be clear. You've got to have a clear head, and once you take away those what you think are your crutches, it's surprising how you go, I don't need that. It's like smoking. You soon give it up and forget about it, and you feel better for it. So nerves is something that you have to have a little bit. I'm only ever nervous if I don't know what I'm doing. If I know exactly what I'm doing, it's like when I come out for the first time, I've got an opening spot. If it's a bit murky and I don't know exactly what I'm doing, then I can't be allowed to perform. I can't go off on one and then come back to what, so that's when I do get a bit nervous. And I just think I just get on with it. I think I've been doing it for so long now. I can turn it on. And even if I am nervous, I think I disguise it pretty well. Just breathe. What's the worst that can happen? What's why are you getting nervous? I'm not doing brain surgery. I'm allowed to mess up, because if I do mess up, I've got a line for it, or I'll get a laugh out of it. That's part of my performance. So why get nervous? And also I've been on stage in front of many, many people. I've stood alongside some big names in the industry. I've been on a Hollywood, set, not in Hollywood, but I've done an A-list movie, working alongside the likes of John Cusack, Luke Evans, Brendan Gleeson, and I've stood there and gone, why shouldn't I be here? Not what am I doing here? Yes, you do that at first, but you go, hang on, why shouldn't I be here? We're all the same. There's no difference. So I don't get starstruck by anyone. I get on and do what I do, and I have a very strong self-belief. And some there's a fine line between arrogance and confidence. You don't want to be arrogant, and sometimes it can come across as arrogance when people say, well, I'm this and that. It's not that. Everyone has their insecurities, but you have to be proud of what you are and what you achieve and what you do. And I'm aware of what I do, not in an arrogant way, just I know what I do because people tell me. And that's a good thing to have. Keep the line of confidence and arrogance.
What would you say has been your most challenging role to date?
That's tricky. I think outside of theatre, outside of pantomime, I mean, I've done other theatre stuff before. Hot Flush was a great comedy musical where I played 18 different characters. That was a challenge, but it was great. I loved it. I was in Blood Brothers, where I played policeman, teacher, and other different roles. That was such a good show. That was a challenge, which I've done. I think the most challenging, I think when I did Casualty and possibly Doctors. Doctors, I played a character that had PTSD, which is a real serious subject, and you're invited in, playing the guest lead, and you're given this storyline and script, and you can't muck about with things like that. You've got to do it correct, even though it's a daytime drama. And people, it's only Doctors. Well, no, it's there forever, So, and I did a bit of research into that, but I just did what I feel. When I'm performing or acting, it comes from here. I'm not a trained actor. I just give what I feel, and I want it as natural as possible. So, when I had the scene where I had flashbacks and all this, I felt it, and I just thought, what must it be like to have PTSD? Because we've all got things like that. I've got PTSD about my divorce. About something that happened years ago. PTSD is quite a large spectrum. So I just draw upon my own raw emotion and true gut feeling. That was a real challenge. Yeah, and Casualty as well. They were challenging because you've got to do a scene over and over again with different camera angles, and you've got to nail it every time. If there's an emotional scene, you've got to turn it on. You've got to be upset. The first time you do it, or if you do a rehearsal and you let it all out and you go, it's very difficult to get it back. So a lot of people don't see that the process. Once you know what the process is like, it's like, oh, they're only acting. It's not a case of they're only acting. It's tough. It's not as easy as what people think. People make it look easy because they're good, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. What, you've probably got loads of these, but what has been the funniest thing that's happened on stage?
Funniest thing for me, the funniest thing I've ever done on stage was during Cinderella. I mean, I'm very proud of the comedy that I do, but I think the funniest moment ever was when I dropped the child into the orchestra pit, little Nicholas. No one's ever done that before. Michael Barrymore did it years ago with Bonnie Langford's niece, and he did it on a TV show, and he dropped her off the stage. And I remember on TV, I remember seeing it and going, oh, that is just genius. So I hold my hands up. He did it originally, but I adapted it and transformed it into panto. And it's never been done on stage in a pantomime before. So it was quite groundbreaking. And that moment was the reaction I got, the mixture of, oh my God, and laughter, I don't think will ever be repeated. It was incredible. That's my favorite moment.
Yeah. Right. Have you ever taken any props or costumes home from jobs as mementos?
Yeah. When I finished Boogie Nights, 70s musical, I took over the leading role from Shane Ritchie did it first. Then Sam Kane took over, and then I took over from Sam, and I did one tour of it, UK tour, and I went out to Cape Town to the Artscape Theatre for 3 weeks, and I took my name plaque, Roddy O'Neill, Matt Slack. So I took that, I kept that, and I also kept in Blood Brothers, when we finished in the West End, we closed the show. I was there on stage for the last 2 weeks with some of the original cast members, directed by Bill Kenwright. It was a very emotional evening because that show had been running there for 24 years. So it was a huge moment. And I used to play a part of a cowboy in the one of the scenes, what they call Kids Game, where we all come on as kids and it's all na 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 na, and all that kind of stuff. And I took home my cowboy tunic. I nicked it. Well, I just said, look, it's not going. The show had finished. I went, sod it, I'm having that. I think I've thrown it away actually, because when you have a good old clear out, I've got rid of everything. It's a shame, but if you hoard stuff, I'd have stuff everywhere. But yeah, so I have done a little bit of thievery in my time.
Has to be done. So, what advice would you give to your younger self?
To my younger self, be hungry and always look and reach for and be ambitious, always. However, don't focus on the destination too much, because there's a wonderful journey that you're having right now.
Nice, I like that. Right, couple of panto questions quickly. If you had to choose one pantomime to do, which one would it be?
Cinderella. I think Buttons is the iconic role. Although I love Smee and Peter Pan. I love playing because it's really high energy. I love playing Muddles in Snow. I love the story of Snow White. I love that. I love them all really, but I think Cinderella is so magical and so iconic, and Buttons is more well known than any other role, and it gives you that pathos. Even though we try and put a bit of pathos in here and there, but you can really go for the pathos in Cinderella. Although when you do, people just want the comedy. They just want me to be funny. Whatever I do, they laugh. Even if I'm crying, they'll laugh. I'm like, do you mind? I'm trying to be a bit, dramatic here. So yeah, I think Buttons, Cinderella.
So who has been the most fun to work with in panto?
Oh God, the most fun. It depends what you mean by fun to work with. On stage, I have relationships with people that is just comedy gold, and then off stage I'll have a great time. I think Leslie Joseph is a dear friend. We call each other mother and son, and she's just a pro. She's an incredible woman with insatiable energy, amazing professionalism. I work with her, and we have a very high respect for each other, and a great mutual love for each other's work. So we get on great when we've had some. We just want the best out of us, and we've had our little don't do that or whatever, but because we're both passionate, and we deliver, as we did last year in Snow White. Leslie's been great. I think also, I mean, I loved working with Danny Mack when we did Cinderella, did the dance off, which you might see again. That was great. He was so easy, so generous. Who else? I mean, I loved working with John Barrowman. John, and that was a tricky one because John was the big star, and he sort of came in above me like, "Who's this? Who's this guy?" So I think there was a little bit of a bruised ego when John came back, because he didn't realise the affection that I had from the audience, and it took him a while to deal with that, but he did, and we had a great time in the end. He's a phenomenal performer and a very generous man. And once we got over that kind of initial testosterone, and it's like, no, it's a big stage, just get on with it, just enjoy it. He was great. Steve McFadden is also, Steve's a mate of mine. He's going to be my best man at the wedding next year. I love working with him because he just allows me. I was with Steve when he did his first panto in Woking years ago, and I just said to him, I said, look, whatever you do, don't panic. Whatever I do, don't panic. If you go with it, go with me, and you'll look good. If you go against me, they'll see it and they won't like it. And he appreciates that advice that I gave to him, because he was in my arena, and I've since been in his arena. We did a scene in EastEnders together, and it's nice that we've switched. He came to my workplace, and I went and performed in his workplace, and it was great. We're best mates. We're very, very close friends. He's just a laugh. He loves what I do. He respects me and gives me that freedom, and I'm allowed to take the. Can I say piss?
Yes.
I'm allowed to take the piss out of Phil Mitchell. Yeah, I can rip into him, and I don't get walloped. So he's a gift. People like him are a gift. Love him.
Okay, one last panto one. Who would you most like to co-star with?
God, blimey. That's a real tricky one. It depends what in panto.
Yeah.
Who would I like most to co-star? Oh. Do you know, I honestly don't know. Who would I really like? It's weird because it's difficult if it's somebody comedically, because you couldn't have two of the similar kind of thing. It's like people say, oh, you'd be great with Brian Connolly or Joe, but no, it wouldn't work. You've got two magnets on positive. You've got to have a complement stood next to you. That's why Doreen Tipton, I've worked with Jill, and she does what she does. I do what I do. It's totally different. You each get your own laugh. Julian Clary was the same. Julian was lovely. In fact, I love Julian. He was so. There was the year I lost my voice. We worked together, so I couldn't really be. I was very depressed at the time because of this voice problem, which was very stressful. And I didn't enjoy the process as much. Nowhere near as much as I should have. But he's a joy. He's at the London Palladium every year. He's amazing. He's so chilled out, so laid back, no ego whatsoever. He just goes on, he's brilliant, and just slopes off in his slippers, drags his feet. He's a great man. I'd love to work with Julian again.
Okay, quick fire round to finish off. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Sun or rain?
Sun.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Musical or play?
Musical.
Comedy or tragedy?
It's got to be both. I can't answer that one. I mean, look, comedy. Okay.
Sweet or savoury?
I'll go savoury.
Meat or veg?
Meat.
Hugs or kisses?
Hugs.
Night out or night in?
Night in.
Tour or West End run?
West End run.
Favourite film?
Oh. Oh God. Oh, there's so many. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Good choice. Favourite book?
I don't read hardly enough, so I wouldn't know. The script that I'm reading at the time or writing.
Okay.
That's my favourite book.
And last one, ultimate comfort food.
Ultimate comfort food. Comfort food. Roast dinner. Roast dinner.
Lovely. Thank you very much for joining me, Matt.
That's all right, Rach.
Fantastic panto run. Very fun.
Thank you.
And hopefully I shall see you soon.
Yeah, you take care. Stay safe, and
Yeah.
send my love to everyone at the Hippodrome. We'll be back. We'll be back soon.
Definitely.
All right.
Yep. Take care. See you soon.
Cheers, Rach.
Bye.
Well done.